My landlord had one rule she repeated more than any other. Never open mail that isn't addressed to you. I broke that rule once, and I am no longer sure I live alone. The building had an old row of brass mail slots in the lobby that jammed constantly in damp weather, so letters often ended up in the wrong boxes. Whenever that happened, tenants dropped them in a blue mailbox by the front desk, and the landlord emptied it every evening. At least that's what I always assumed. I never actually saw her open it. On a Tuesday, I came home with groceries and grabbed my mail without checking it. Upstairs at my kitchen table, I noticed one envelope I didn't recognize. Plain white, slightly yellowed, no stamp, no postmark, no return address. Typed across the front in faded ink. Current occupant, apartment 0. My building didn't have an apartment 0. Ground floor started at 1A. I'd walked past every door in that place enough times to know there was no 0 anywhere. I should have taken it downstairs. Instead, I opened it. Inside was a single sentence, printed dead center on the page. Your occupancy has been acknowledged. I laughed it off, folded the paper, and threw it in the kitchen bin. That night, I found Mr. Vale standing in the hallway outside my door. He'd lived in 5C when I first moved in, always in dark suits, always smelling of aftershave. He'd moved out suddenly at the start of winter. His clothes were completely soaked, even though it wasn't raining. The skin around his eyes was swollen and pale. His jaw hung slightly off-center. 2 fingers on his right hand had been flattened almost completely flat, nails split and blackened. "You opened yours too," he said, voice wet and quiet. He lifted that ruined hand. A white envelope was stuck to his palm, stained dark. They always send one first. I bolted for my apartment. The lock turned just as something struck the other side of the door. His fingernails dragged slowly down the wood. Then, through the gap underneath, a whisper. "Don't let them take your number." The next morning, the landlord flatly denied Mr. Vale still lived in the building, said he'd moved out months ago. When I told her I'd seen him anyway, and mentioned the letter, something in her face changed completely. "What letter?" she asked. I backed off, told her I'd been mistaken. She watched me a moment too long before going back to sorting mail. I retrieved the damp envelope from my trash later that day and tried to slip it into the blue mailbox when I thought she'd stepped away. It stopped halfway through the slot, like something inside was pushing back. I pulled it out, tried again, harder. It bent between my fingers and dropped at my feet on its own. Then the slot lifted slightly. Nothing was touching it from outside. For a second, I thought I saw pale fingertips curled around the metal from the other side. I heard the landlord's door unlock and grabbed the envelope before she could see, shoving it into a kitchen drawer. That night, something started knocking from inside my bedroom wall. 3 slow knocks, a pause, 3 more all night long. It stopped whenever I got close and started again the moment I lay back down. The next day, I found Rachel in the laundry room. She'd lived on the 2nd floor with a small white dog and vanished before Christmas. She sat on top of a washing machine in a soaked nightgown, holding an open envelope in both hands. "You still have your key," she said. I asked what happened to her. "I had a key once," she said, eyes drifting toward the concrete wall behind the dryers. "They don't like us staying in the rooms too long." I ran. After that, I started seeing them everywhere. An old man in the elevator, forehead pressed to the back wall, a deep scar behind his ear, whispering "wrong floor" as the doors closed on him. A young woman crouched in the alley, scratching at brick with a broken key, asking through tears which apartment was hers. Every single one of them carried an open envelope. I stopped taking the elevator, avoided the basement, took my trash out only in daylight. At night, I heard soft tapping against my walls and window and kept the curtains shut, refusing to look. Then one of them touched me. Mr. Vale was waiting in the hallway when I got home from work, his damaged fingers now bound together with strips of wet paper. He crossed the distance before I reached the stairs and grabbed my wrist. His grip was ice cold and strong enough to grind bone. I hit his arm with my keys until the skin split open. No blood came out, just thick black liquid, carrying scraps of soaked paper with it. "It's changing your address," he whispered, before I finally tore free and ran. 5 dark bruises had bloomed around my wrist. Inside each one, faintly visible under the skin, was my apartment number. 6C. Over the next 2 days, that number started changing. The 6 faded first, then the C curled shut. By the end of the week, every bruise showed the same digit. My key started sticking in the lock, sometimes taking 10 tries to get in. My name disappeared from the intercom panel beside 6C, leaving nothing but blank space next to the apartment number. I called the landlord, panicked, telling her my name was gone from the intercom. There was a long pause. "Who is this?" I stood in my own kitchen, my coat by the door, my mug still on the counter, and told her it was me, that I lived in 6C. She told me the apartment was vacant and hung up, convinced I had the wrong building. The next day I came home to find her standing outside my open front door with a stranger holding a property brochure. She looked at me like she'd never seen my face before, until her eyes landed on the bruises around my wrist. Then something in her expression shifted into pure fear. She sent the stranger away and followed me inside. "You opened the letter," she said. I retrieved it from the kitchen drawer. The paper had gone almost completely black. The original sentence was gone, replaced with new text. "Occupancy pending. Current resident unconfirmed. Previous address 6C. She told me I should have come to her the moment it arrived. I told her I'd tried to get rid of it. The mailbox had pushed it back out. "You'd already opened it by then," she said. I asked about Mr. Vale, about Rachel, about everyone I'd seen wandering the halls with their own opened envelopes. She said they'd all received one. The building hadn't erased them completely. It had simply replaced their absence with explanations everyone else would accept without question. Moved out, broken lease, gone to live with family. None of it had actually happened. She only noticed the lie because she managed the records, and even then, the false memory always felt completely real until something forced her to question it. A dragging sound moved through the wall behind us, traveling from the kitchen toward my bedroom. The missing tenants hadn't vanished. Once the building stopped recognizing someone as a resident, it moved them into whatever space remained unclaimed, the walls, the shafts, the gaps between floors, anywhere unofficial. The dragging stopped behind my bedroom door, then breathing. "What do they want from me?" I whispered. "Your place," she said. The door opened on its own. Mr. Vale sat on my bed, wearing one of my shirts, my work badge pinned to his chest, my name scratched off it. Behind him, my wardrobe door swung open, and Rachel stood folded impossibly inside it, forcing her own joints back into place without looking away from me. "You have a room," she said. A third voice came from underneath the bed. "We need one." The landlord dragged me toward the hallway just as the wall behind Mr. Vale split open from floor to ceiling, plaster stretching apart like wet paper. Behind it, an entire black cavity packed with bodies, faces pressed between pipes, limbs bent into gaps no living person could fit through, clothes from decades apart, all of them holding open envelopes, all of them pulling themselves forward, repeating the same 2 lines. "You have a room, we need one." I hit the floor as hands closed around my legs. Mr. Vale pinned me down while Rachel went through my pockets, tearing the keys from my hand, an earring from my ear. They weren't trying to kill me. They were collecting proof that the apartment belonged to me so they could claim it instead. The young woman from the alley crawled over my chest, a broken key driven straight through her palm. She opened her mouth, and my own scream came out of her throat instead of mine. The landlord swung her keyring into Mr. Vale's face, brass slicing his cheek open, black liquid and paper spilling out. Then she held up the letter and tore it in half. Every one of them screamed at once, the sound coming from inside the walls themselves. The bruises on my wrist burned as the zeros stretched thin and started to fade. She tore the letter again. The darkness in the wall began pulling everyone backward, hands clawing uselessly at the floorboards as they were dragged in. The young woman held on longest, hooking her broken key between 2 boards until the landlord stomped down on her wrist and forced her loose. The opening sealed shut with a wet, sucking sound. My keys worked in the front door again without a fight. The landlord told me the transfer had been stopped. The building recognized me as the rightful occupant of 6C once more. Every record confirmed I'd lived there continuously the entire time. I haven't slept in that bedroom since. She insists the wall is sealed for good, but I still hear movement behind it whenever the building goes quiet. Mr. Vale drags his fingers along the plaster sometimes. Rachel whispers about the kitchen she used to have. The young woman can still use my voice. She calls my own name from inside the wall and then answers herself when I refuse to respond. This morning, I went down to check the intercom. Beneath my name was a second one. Mr. Vale, apartment 6C. By the time I got the landlord on the phone, Rachel's name had appeared right underneath his. She told me not to remove them. Apartment 0 had failed to take my place away from me completely. But the people inside it had already been acknowledged as residents of my apartment, too. According to the building, I still live in 6C. I just don't live there alone anymore.